The Great Serpent Mound of Ohio. The Great Serpent Mound, the world's biggest surviving prehistoric effigy mound, is a 1,300-foot-long, 3-foot-high prehistoric mound built on a plateau of a crater along Brush Creek in Adams County, Ohio. The mound, which resembles a coiled serpent, is shrouded in mystery and dispute. Despite more than a century of inquiry, there is no clear evidence concerning what it represents and what it was erected for. Various astronomical alignments indicate it may have served as a calendar. With its head approaching a cliff above the stream, the Serpent Mound adapts to the curve of the terrain on which it rests. It has 7 unique coils that terminate in a triple-coiled tail and spirals back and forth for over 800 feet. The serpent head features an open mouth that stretches around the east end of a 120-foot-long, hollow oval feature that is commonly interpreted as an egg, but alternate interpretations indicate it may be the body of a frog or simply a platform remnant. A triangular mound west of the effigy measures roughly 32 feet at its base. Thousands of years ago, the Serpent Mound is said to have been laid out all at once as a layer of clay and strengthened with stones. The Ohio countryside was dotted with mounds and enormous earthworks built by Native Americans. The building was formerly attributed to the Adena culture, which flourished from 1000 BC to 100 AD. The Adena are famed for their burial and effigy mounds, several of which were discovered around the Great Serpent Mound. However, radiocarbon dating on bits of charcoal found within the Serpent Mound determined that work on the mound began around 1070 AD. As a result, the mound could have been constructed by the 4 ancient people who lived in the Ohio Valley from 1000 to 1550. Nonetheless, the research is inconclusive because it only confirms the presence of a 1,000-year-old charcoal within the mound. This could have been left there long after the effigy was constructed. The most widely held belief is that the Serpent Mound resembles a massive snake, slowly uncoiling itself in order to grasp a massive egg with extended jaws. There are numerous additional theories that suggest diverse interpretations. Some speculate it could be a lunar eclipse or the phases of the moon. Others believe it resembles the horned serpent nest, which can be found in other various Native American tribes. Landon West, a local German Baptist clergyman, advanced another unique theory in 1909. As punishment for enticing Adam and Eve, the serpent was writhing in its dying throes. This was thought by West to be the original Garden of Eden. There are credible claims that the snake is inextricably linked to the skies. The snake has been cited as a model for the constellation known as the Little Dipper. It curled its tail around the North Star. The serpent's varied alignments match to astronomical phenomena such as the sun and moon alignments. The oval and region of the serpent are aligned to the summer solstice sunset, according to researchers, implying that one of the effigy's objectives was to mark the turning of the year so that planting, gathering, and hunting could be planned. It has been believed the curves of the effigy's body correspond to a set of 6 lunar alignments. If the Serpent Mound was built on both solar and lunar arrays, it would represent the unification of astronomical knowledge into a single emblem. The hypothesis that the Serpent Mound has astronomical significance has been supported by decades of academics. It's still a mystery who built the serpent and how it was used. Many scholars believe the Serpent Mound was used in religious ceremonies. When settlers first discovered the mound, there was a fire-scarred stone monument in the egg-shaped head, leading some to speculate that it was used as an altar of some sort, possibly sacrificial, based on a ceremonial knife. A number of skeleton heads were uncovered among the blackened stones in a nearby tomb. The Serpent Mound, whatever its true function, attests to the cunning of its builders. The designer's brilliance is still visible. The Ohio Serpent Mound is one of the great iconic pictures of all human antiquity because of its blend of beauty, familiarity, abstraction, power, precision, and mystery. Abandoned Homes of Casa Grande, Arizona. The purpose of one of the largest prehistoric buildings ever created in North America is a complete unknown. Archaeologists unearthed evidence that the people who built the Casa Grande also created large-scale irrigation farming and substantial trade links that lasted for almost 1,000 years, till around 1450 CE. The term Hohokam is given by archaeologists to a place with mud houses, red-on buff pottery, and large canals. However, it is not the name of a tribe or people. Years of confusion have caused the Odoom, Hopi, and Zuni peoples' forebears to be confused by the name Hohokam, which is neither a word in any of their languages nor the name of a distinct people. Around 1450, Casa Grande was abandoned by its builders. Because the original Sonoran Desert people had no written language, recorded historical reports of Casa Grande begin with Pablo Eusebio Francisco Quino's diary entries from his visit to the remains in 1694. He used the phrase Casa Grande, or Great House, in his description of the massive historical house lying before him, name still in use today. With the visits of Lieutenant Colonel Juan Bautista de Ananza's expedition in 1775 and Brigadier General Stephen Kearny's military detachment in 1846, more information about the ruins became available. The public's interest in Casa Grande grew as a result of subsequent articles. During the late 1800s, more people began to visit the ruins. With the introduction of a railroad line 20 miles to the west, as well as connecting stagecoach route, which passed straight through Casa Grande, everything changed. Damage caused by souvenir hunters, graffiti, and open vandalism generated worries about the site's preservation. In 1883-84, anthropologist and historian Adolphe Bandler examined Casa Grande ruins, commenting on its state and potential significance. The Hemingway Southwestern Archaeological Expedition of 1887-88, conducted by anthropologist Frank H. Cushing and supported by Massachusetts philanthropist Mary Hemingway, provided more information on the site's deterioration. As a result, prominent Bostonians persuaded Massachusetts Senator George F. Hoare to submit a petition to the United States Senate in 1889, urging the government to rebuild and conserve the ruins. If you have friends interested in historical mysteries, please share this video with them. Repair work began the following year, and in 1892, President Benjamin Harrison established the first prehistoric and cultural reserve in the United States, setting aside 1 square mile of Arizona territory surrounding the Casa Grande ruins. In 1901, the General Land Office took over the ruins, and young Frank Pinkley was first on-site keeper. In 1903, a corrugated iron shelter roof, supported by redwood timbers, was built over the Casa Grande ruins, and between 1906 and 1908, extensive excavations and repairs of the ruins were carried out under supervision of the Bureau of Ethnology. At that time, the majority of the lower walls visible today were exposed. In August 1918, President Woodrow Wilson declared the Casa Grande ruins a national monument, and control of the ruins was handed over to the National Park Service. Frank Pinkley remained as keeper and became superintendent of all southwestern monuments. From 1926 to 1930, he hosted the yearly Arizona pageant and produced a wide range of publications about the Casa Grande ruins as part of his promotional efforts. During the 1930s, a number of significant construction projects were conducted. Between 1932 and 1937, the major component of the tourist center structure, along with the neighboring parking area and entrance road, as well as the new steel shelter roof over Casa Grande, were built. The Civilian Conservation Corps built a number of adobe structures to support park operations in 1940. These structures are all still in use today and have been included to the National Register of Historic Places. As a result, Casa Grande's physical look has remained relatively unchanged since the 1940s. Research is still going on ruins repairs, interpretive programs, and visitor center remodeling are all part of a continuous effort to provide the best visitor experience possible and to fulfill the National Park Service mission to protect, preserve, and make available for present and future generations the many wonders of the Casa Grande ruins. America's Stonehenge, Salem, New Hampshire. What looks to be America's greatest and maybe oldest megalithic conundrum is located 40 miles north of Boston, 25 miles inland from the Atlantic Ocean. For more than a century, archaeologists have pondered over Mystery Hill, sometimes known as America's Stonehenge. A succession of low walls, cave-like rudimentary dwellings, and tunnels are strewn across 30 acres of hillside in a gigantic chaos of juvenile disorder, deep cunning, and rough naivety, according to one archaeologist. While the hill is compared to England's Stonehenge circle, it is physically extremely distinct at first appearance. Stonehenge is arranged perfectly as a sequence of concentric rings, horseshoes, and squares on a plain, not a hill. By comparison, Mystery Hill appears to be a muddle. The stones used in Stonehenge are up to 45 tons in weight. Mystery Hill stones are smaller. The largest weighs roughly 11 tons and has a simpler design. However, there are some similarities between the two sites. They were both originally used as observatories. There are astronomical alignments in each, including the summer solstice. Second, we know nearly nothing about either location's constructors. While we don't know what kind of ceremonies may have taken place at Stonehenge, we do know more about the activities on Mystery Hill. One of the site's most prominent characteristics is a massive flat stone that looks like a large table and stands on 4 legs. A groove runs round the table's edge, leading to a spout. This massive slab has been dubbed the sacrificial stone, and it very well could have served that purpose. The gutter was most likely there to allow the sacrifice blood to drain off the top. A shaft, 8 feet long, leads to an underground chamber beneath the sacrifice stone. It seems reasonable a priest in the chamber was allowed to speak to a crowd assembled around the altar as the voice of an oracle floating up from the sacrificial stone. The site features a variety of man-made tunnels and passages, in addition to the oracle chamber and the sacrifice stone. At least one seems to have been built with a drain to prevent flooding. The hill's recent history can be traced back to Jonathan Patty, a farmer who lived atop the hill in the early 1800s. Patty is said to have been a thief, running an illicit still, and was a stop in the infamous Underground Railroad, which transported escaped slaves from the south to safety. One thing is certain, Patty's farmhouse had a cellar in one of the structures. Patty was said to have built the structures with the help of his 5 sons. Seems unlikely, though, as one of the site's stones was discovered interlocked with the stump of a tree which began growing in 1769, long before Patty arrived in the area. William Lee Goodwin bought the property in 1936. The structures atop the hill, according to Goodwin, were built by Irish monks who crossed the Atlantic centuries before Columbus. Goodwin did his own archaeology on the site, deleting any material that contradicted his theory. The loss of these objects is one of the reasons for the hill's profound mystery. The stone was not built by Native Americans who lived in the Northeast before the Europeans came. Colonial farmers didn't arrive in the valley till 1730, and we know from the stump interlocked with stone that construction must have begun before 1769. 39 years seems like a short time to construct such a set of structures. The sacrificial stone oracle doesn't seem to fit with the colonists' religious beliefs. Testing of ceramic fragments has revealed that they date back to 1000 BCE. Radiocarbon dating revealed the charcoal from one fire pit was 4,000 years old. The site is currently maintained by America's Stonehenge Foundation and is open to the public. It appears likely the site was built in ancient times by individuals we know nothing about. Some speculate the plot is tied up to Mediterranean cultures, such as Greek or Phoenician. There's a surprising resemblance between the oracle and Mystery Hill's structure, and those of ancient temples in Malta and Greece. It's possible we'll never know who constructed this site, and we'll never figure out how to use the astronomical data included in its alignments. It is certain we'll never know what the oracle's voice said, and we'll never know what or who was sacrificed on this hard, cold stone altar. Berkeley Mystery Walls, San Francisco, California. The Great Wall of California is a term used to describe the old Berkeley fortifications, which are still a mystery. It is still unknown who built the stone walls or why they were built. Could this have been evidence of unknown advanced culture settling in the East Bay in the past? The ancient walls run about 50 miles along East Bay from Berkeley to San Jose. 50-mile-long wall is strange enough, but what if it's not alone? What if there was a chain of barriers across the length of Northern California? There are more mystery barriers across the area, not just in the San Francisco Bay. As it turns out, instead, the barriers might go all the way to the Oregon border. The walls continue inland towards Mount Diablo, after meandering through Oakland Hills, where we come to a mystery stone circle with a diameter of 30 feet. The walls form a 200-foot wide spiral that encircles a big boulder in one location. Some researchers who studied the ancient remains speculated the stone walls were built by Mongolian settlers, as the Chinese had a habit of erecting walls around their cities. Perhaps this mysterious wall was modeled after China's Great Wall. The Chinese are a popular choice among some because of the popularity of the idea among fringe theorists that the Chinese Admiral Zheng He made it to California and may have established a settlement. Another more extraordinary suggestion is that it was built either by the Lemurians or refugees from Mu. Enjoy exploring mysteries like this? Please hit that subscribe button and remember to tap the bell so you are notified when we put out new videos. Is it possible that the Byzantine fleet that set out to round the globe made it to California? Anchors discovered in Baja California, mysterious writings from a Buddhist monk found in Mesoamerica, and 17th century junk discovered near Chico, all point to the presence of the Chinese adventurer in this region. Others believe they were built by early missionaries, while still others question if Sir Francis Drake didn't leave colonists behind at the place where he concluded his trip round the world. Although the Ohlone Indians were hunter-gatherers and are not known to have built permanent structures, some people believe they were the builders. However, like with the other theories, there's little evidence to support this one. The builders of the Great Wall of California's identities has remained a mystery. Many of the stones are large and heavy, and the site appears to be fairly old. The wall stands up to 5 feet tall in sections and is made up of rocks of various sizes. Some of the blocks are the size of basketballs, while others are massive sandstone rocks that weigh a ton or more. Many of the formations have sunk deep into the ground and are frequently overgrown with the surrounding vegetation. At first glance, this appears to be some sort of defense structure. There are certain issues with this theory, though. The wall does not run full length and is made up of several portions. Furthermore, the wall is not tall enough to have served as a defensive barrier. As a result, it's improbable that it was employed as a fence. So, why was it constructed? Unfortunately, the wall has never undergone thorough scientific assessment. Archaeologists and scientists have not delved more into its mysterious and fascinating side. The ancient Berkeley walls will have to remain an unsolved North American mystery for the time being. The mystery of the Bighorn medicine wheel. Sheridan, Wyoming. The centuries-old medicine wheel, as it is now known, is positioned high in the Bighorn Mountains of northern Wyoming and appears to be a monument to astronomical applications employed by people who lived in the northern plains long before white men or even the Crow Indians arrived. The wheel, which is over 10,000 feet above sea level near Medicine Mountain's peak, is usually only accessible by humans during the summer months. The medicine wheel has a diameter of 80 feet and a circumference of 245 feet, and is thought to be made of stone collected from around the monument. With stones stacked inside to construct a core, donut-shaped cairn measuring 12 feet in diameter and 2 feet tall. The central cairn connects 28 stone spokes into an outside circle, and around the circle there are 6 more stone cairns, some of which are large enough for a person to sit in. The 6 cairns that surround the wheel are unmistakably linked to the night sky. The 28 spokes most likely represent the 28-day moon cycle, but the number 28 also appears to fit to another piece of astronomical puzzle. When 2 of the cairns are aligned with the center, they can be used to indicate the rising and setting of the summer solstice. At one cairn and looking towards another, you will be directed to numerous spots on the distant horizon. On summer solstice, these points illustrate where the sun rises or sets, as well as where helically rising stars first rise at dawn after being hidden by the sun. The morning stars are employed to forecast the arrival of the Earth's ceremonial days. The area is snow-free for only 2 months of the year, during summer solstice. The day a star can be first seen shortly after dawn, after being behind the sun for an entire season, is known as the helical rising of the star, which pinpoints the matching date for stars in these observations. From around 1200 to 1700 AD, these stars would have served as solstice markers for Native Americans. Fomalhaut would rise 28 days before summer solstice, Aldebaran would rise during the 2 days leading up to solstice, Rigel would rise 28 days after solstice, and Sirius 28 days after that, at the end of August, signifying the end of summer and time to leave the mountain. Bighorn medicine wheel's origins are uncertain, although the star alignments with the cairns were at their most accurate about 1280. The solstice alignments are still accurate today despite minor fluctuations in the Earth's orbit. The wheel was where the Crow first arrived in 1680, therefore its age is known. A Crow leader, after completing Vision Quest on the spot, realized they had found their homeland. The Bighorn Wheel is part of a larger archaeological complex which spans 7,000 years of Native American adaptation to and utilization of the alpine region that surrounds Medicine Mountain. Nearby, there are a number of current American Indian ceremonial staging spaces, medicinal and ceremonial plant gathering regions, sweat lodge sites, altar offering locales, and fasting or Vision Quest enclosures. The Medicine Wheel and surrounding environment are one of the most important and well-preserved ancient Native American holy site complexes in North America, according to ethnohistoric, anthropological, and archaeological evidence. In South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, between 70 and 150 wheels have been discovered. Plains Indians likely built the wheel between 300 and 800 years ago, and it has been used and maintained by many groups since then. The earliest component is the central cairn, which extends below the wheel and has been buried by wind-blown dust. It could have been used to support a center pole. During Native American ceremonies, a bison skull is frequently put atop this center cairn. While some Crow believed the wheel was created before the light, others believed that it was dropped from the heavens by God. Some claim it was built by the Sheep Eater, a Shoshone tribe whose name comes from their skill in hunting mountain sheep. Many Crow believe it is a manual for erecting teepees. A man named Scarface is mentioned in one Crow myth. He was attractive and enjoyed flaunting around in his finery in front of young women. He slipped in the fire one day while entering his mother's teepee, severely burning his face and making him embarrassed to be seen. He left his people, ashamed of his appearance, and went to dwell in the mountains. Scarface was a loner for a long time. One day, a young woman and her grandmother got separated from their people while hunting berries, couldn't find their way back. They followed a track that led them into the mountains. Scarface was periodically seen by them, and they made touch with him. Scarface eventually married the young lady. He is said to have created the medicine wheel as a refuge on their way back to his tribe. He built another teepee by the Bighorn River in the valley below on the second day. These teepee rings are thought to still be in existence. The medicine wheel was also supposed to have provided excellent spiritual medicine to Red Plume, a prominent Crow chief during the time of Lewis and Clark. According to folklore, Red Plume was visited by little beings who lived in the passage to the wheel. They led him into the dirt, telling him that the red eagle feathers were his powerful medicine guide and protector, and he was instructed to wear the little eagle feather on the back of his head over the tail feathers at all times. As a result, Red Plume was given his name. On his deathbed, he assured his family that his spirit could be discovered at the medicine wheel, where they could connect with him. However, whoever erected the medicine wheel left no clue as to what it was used for. New Age religionists and Native Americans alike are drawn to the medicine wheel site for ceremonial purposes today. In 1969, the Bighorn medicine wheel was placed on the National Register of Historic Places, and the site was recently extended and designated as Medicine Wheel, Medicine Mountain National Historic Landmark. There are other significant Native American holy ground on another 4,000 acres, some of which are still intact. Medicine Mountain was also very significant from a geological standpoint. There are 10 spots on Earth that are known as Continental Nuclei, or tiny patches of some of the world's oldest rocks. These old Earth portions were initially the surface of the planet's crust 2 or 3 billion years ago, and younger rock which covered them has since eroded away. Sometimes called continental roots, these rocks were once part of the Gondwana land supercontinent, which began to break apart 300 million years ago. Between 65 million and 1 million years ago, it split into the continents we know. These continents are still drifting today. The layers of time exposed at Medicine Mountain, however, are laid bare for the open eye to see, with the medicine wheel effectively floating on some of the Earth's oldest surface stone. A nearly 360-degree picture reveals a gradual geological march downward from Medicine Mountain's summit to the fresh earth and stone that lies under on the valley floors. The Bighorn medicine wheel is the best example of countless medicine wheels spread over the American West and Canada. To go to the wheel, you'll travel west from Lago, Wyoming. The trek up Bighorn Range Extraordinary Western Slope is made possible by an amazing sequence of switchbacks that snake their way up the mountain. Parking is accessible near the wheel at a visitor center. The walk from the visitor center to the site is about a mile. However, handicapped guests can drive straight up to the wheel. From October through May, the roads are normally blocked, so plan your visit accordingly and connect with your spiritual self at Wyoming's Medicine Wheel. Some world phenomena are difficult to explain using our existing technology or collection of knowledge. It's possible that some of these unsolved mysteries will become clearer as science progresses, but other unsolved mysteries will undoubtedly become murkier over time as critical information is lost or buried with those who once knew. Some mysteries defy explanation and might appear to exist independently of what was previously known or what technology might have found in the future. We're both uncomfortable with the loose ends, but we're in love, and maybe even obsessed, at the same time.